think qualifies to be a Lion. I mean, qualifies, it means they would.
No,
Western,
No.
you only do in class.
Might work.
it's kind of
And
a,
even last
It
year,
might
when they were
work.
doing hybrid.
It might
We
work
can-
better to
I
just put it in front of it.
do that,
Yeah,
but
we can-
sometimes the teacher wasn't there, she was actually doing it. They could have been involved, but I don't have access. Now they want me to have access to some
so
technology.
that's your camera
I don't
now.
want tech
Okay.
access.
Russ
That-
could
that-
train you.
So we can-
today.
Yeah, they could,
Take
but
this.
it would require them to be
Okay, so you're
responsible.
recording and all
Okay.
Denny's got to do is start talking.
Leave.
You're the building son, you're responsible.
Well, I'm not separate. Oh, are we good to go?
We're good to go.
Okay. Thank you all for coming. I have about 16 different ways I was going to start this. One of them was, and this is a true one. Many nights I would wake up. My wife and I talk mostly Lions Club, unless it's football season, when we talk Central Michigan football. But we talk Lions Club a lot. And then there are some nights I'll wake up at 3 a.m, can't get up, or I can't go back to sleep because I'm giving one of the greatest speeches ever, even better than somebody named Ken used to give. But then it escapes in the morning. So I thought, well, we'll try to give a little bit of information tonight. This is a little bit about our structure of international, of the multiple district. And if I go too fast, if you guys get done listening before I get done talking, just wait for me at the end.
Yeah.
Well-known football coach, and we'll say his name was Herb Dramedy, was once asked, how much does college football contribute to the national physical fitness picture? Nothing, the coach replied abruptly. Why not? The startled interviewer said. Well, said the coach, the way I see it, you have 22 men down in the field desperately needing a rest, and thousands of people in the stands desperately needing some exercise. So a possible situation exists today in many Lions clubs. The people who attend, the people who participate. We need to participate. We're going to give you some information of ways that you can participate or what participation may look like in a larger sense. Not done to scare you, but done to inform you. We have some flow charts there. The first one, the district cabinet structure. Now, before I get to that one, we'll talk about international. Lions International is comprised of 5 executive officers, the international president, immediate past president, and 3 vice presidents. A few years ago, like 20 years ago, they said, hey, let's save some money. They cut out a 3rd vice. They found out after about 5 or 6 years that didn't work. They put the 3rd vice back in. So today, those are the people, those are elected at the international convention each year, the 3rd vice that is, and they proceed up the ladder. At the same time, there are international directors that are being elected, and there are 32 in total. 34 in total. 17 are elected each year, 11 from outside the United States, 6 from inside the United States. And inside the United States also includes Puerto Rico. Now, up until about 20, 30 years ago, there used to be an even balance on the board between US directors, of which 7 were elected each year, or was it 8? 8 were elected, and 8 from outside the US. As times have changed and demographics have changed, now we have more from outside the US than inside the US. Past International President Rolf Lynam once was concerned about this. It was like inevitable, because India and Japan, those places are growing like topsy lionistically. We've added areas behind the Iron Curtain, and so that's why the U.S. has lost directors, they've gained. We've been at 1.4 million members for, I think, about 30 years. It's just that now there are far less Americans than there are people from outside the U.S. The other thing is that one thing international directors are told when they join Lions International at that level, they're told there are no foreign directors. no foreign directors. Because no matter where you are in the world, you're a Lions member. So if the US director has ever been caught saying that, they are quickly corrected because we are the same structure. Now, getting a little bit closer to our own use here, let's go to the multiple district level. Did I get you needed to do that one?
All right, let me find it.
Okay, multiple district council structure. This is how our multiple district. There is something to be mentioned. Michigan is the only state in Lions International within the US that has not one, but two separate multiple districts. Actually, now the Upper Peninsula is now a single district again with just one district and about 1,300 members. The Lower Peninsula, which comprises multiple district 11, has just under 10,000 members and 10 districts, 10 sub-districts. So this is how that works. The council governors, all 10 districts are represented. There is a council chairperson that up until I believe the early 90s was always elected from amongst the sitting governors. But then other areas wanted to promote somebody from within and give them one more year of seasoning, if you will, maybe prepare that person for international directorship. And they started using a past district governor as a council chair. Sometimes it was done maybe to break ties. Maybe it was done to have one more leader that had actually had experience. And at this time, we have been doing that for well over 25 to 30 years. I did not go back and double check that number. And currently our council chair is right from Vandercook Lake from our district, past district governor Dave Hill. We have a council treasurer, that's Lion Paul Hemrick, past district governor, past council chair, who his daughter is now our district treasurer. And Paul has served in that capacity for over 20 years. And then our multiple district executive director. Now, they used to be called the council secretary or the state council, but a few years ago, that title was changed to give it a more professional sound. And so they are an executive director. And so that is Wendy Burns. She's been in that position 10 years now. She is actually a member of our district. She is a member of the Eye Openers Lions Club, although she lives in Mason. Council Treasurer Paul Hemrick is from District 11A2. There is a vice council chair, and that person is one of the sitting members. And then from that group, or below that group, are all of the various subcommittees. And at the district, at the state level, and I say state, sometimes I'm going to interchange state and multiple district. There are 26 committees. If you have a book such as the Who's Who of Michigan Lionism, put that down now. If you don't mind, I'll let you hold that. The Who's Who lists in there 26 districts that meet at the state level. And so I don't have one for everyone, but that lists all the people who have ever served as district governor or as an international director. And our state has had 22 international directors. We currently have an international director on the board, Justin Faber from the Thumb area. And our state has had 4 international presidents. First one being John Knoll from Grand Rapids. Second one, Carl Sorek right here. Well, his technical address was Springport, but he belonged to the Jackson Host Club. And then we had S.A. Dodge from Bloomfield Hills. And the last one we had, 78, 79, was Ralph Lynham from St. John's. So we have not had an international officer for over 40 years now. But as the organization has expanded, that's not likely to happen anytime in the near future. But the who's who lists all of the people who are on committees. It lists the committee chair. And again, there are 26 committees that are all on there because they are the chair of their district committee. And then when they get to the state level, the state council elects a chair each year. In some cases, there are some 3-year terms. Okay, good enough for that one. Now we go back to the and the multiple district. You do that. If you would, we can dispense with that right now.
Okay.
I'll call you Annette. It's only because I'm going to call her Anita probably sometime. So the district cabinet structure. This is something we're a little bit more closer to. And our district cabinet is comprised of a district governor, an immediate past district governor. And a lot of people forget the immediate past district governor is actually the second highest ranking person in the district, not the first vice governor. Right now, we do not have a first vice or a second vice. Now, some of these jobs have been added up until the early 90s. We had what were called deputy district governors. And the deputy district governors, one represented each of the regions. And for an 8-year period, we had actually 4 regions. We had over 50 clubs. Now we're down to about 40 clubs. We're in 3 regions. And we have disbanded or just done away with temporarily as of about 12 years ago with region chairs, partly because it's a little bit of a cost to the district and partly because we're having trouble getting those positions filled. So we're looking for right now a first and a second vice district governor, so they're able to step up. And then in the meantime, we have zone chairs and we have 7 zone chairs representing the 3 regions. The region where we sit tonight has 3 zones. The Battle Creek Coldwater area has 2 zones, and our Runaway area has 2 zones. The Jackson area have 3 zones. And therefore, there is opportunity for leadership. We'd like to turn those zone chairs over each year. We'd like to get new people in them. I will point out, as I say, talk about some of these things and some of the jobs. One of the jobs that shows on the district cabinet, we have a global service chair, a global membership chair, global leadership chair. And those people are all appointed. They can be replaced each year, but we'd like to have a 3-year term to that so that the person understands what the job is about and can really fulfill the duties. And obviously, leadership goes to training people, membership goes to encouraging people to join, and service goes to getting people involved in the community and letting people know what that get us out there and say that's why we exist. And that was the last one of the 3 to be added. And which one is most important? They're all equally important. But one of the things I think that has happened is some of these have been added over the years. Internationally, I mentioned before about India and Japan in particular. They have some clubs with 100, 200, 300 members. They have districts that are much bigger, multiple districts that are bigger. And so they said, hey, they want to keep people involved and they got people with expertise. They were ones, I think, that promoted these on the board and said, we'd like to have some more positions so we can put people into them who have earned those positions and have a great amount of expertise. At the same time, while we're a little bit struggling,
Family Research Council, watch that.
we want to get, sometimes we struggle to get those positions filled. Now, but I mentioned there were 26 chairs at the district or at the multiple district level and state level. Some of those committees only pertain to the 10 sub-districts in Lower Michigan. There are others like the All-State Band, Leader Dog, and so forth that pertain to the whole state. They are all part of that, being on that sort of cabinet committee. So again, we're always looking for leaders, always looking for, there are so many choices and chances to serve that we encourage people, if there's something, if you get a hold of the who's who, but better yet, this is one of the best district rosters has been put out since 2014, 2015. I only say that because I'm married to the governor that served that year. And she and I put that together. But this one is outstanding. It's a current district roster. It has all the pictures of all the leaders in the district. And then it also lists all the cabinet affiliates, all the committee chairs. It lists, and one of the things that it does, well, let me just double check my number on that. We have 56 committees in the district. It makes it difficult to fill all those spots. And so we have a number of people doing multiple jobs. So again, if you get a hold of the book and look at some of those committees. Now, some of the committees only need one person for most of the year. But there are others that when it comes election time in the district or certain things that come up, district convention, we need multiple members on there. We need a lot of different people, a lot of different ideas, good ideas, expansive ideas, ideas that people can help us to grow the district. Then below that, if your club so chooses, there is another thing that if your club, it has a number of members. I wish I had the one from our Interlakes Club that I belong to, which at one time reached over 80 members, is to publish a club roster book, because we put in there all the names of our past presidents when they served. Our club gives a scholarship each year. Now we're giving 2 scholarships. We put all the scholarship winners in there. It's a historical document. And I go back for a minute, you know, to put it up. I need it. But the district roster is a historical document. It's sort of the Bible. It's the Bible of the district. And so a copy of it, I think, what's $2? $3. $3. If every club, I think, got 4 of them free of charge. But there are a lot of things in there. There's a lot of good information. Now, some of it, as we give awards out and as years go by, some of that info I think needs to flow to the technology aspect where it can all be listed there. But at this point, not everybody has the technology, and so might not be accessible to get it. But if you can do a club, even a club list of things is very helpful. Then there's one other thing. Oh, information that flows. I did not retain a copy of the Lion magazine, which I believe now is published 4 times a year. From International, and we get the English version. We don't want the Finnish one for sure. That would be tough to read, or the Japanese one. But the International magazine comes out. It usually features a lot of things that are going on with the international president, and there are a lot of good stories in there about what clubs are doing around mostly around the U.S., but some of them around the world. And it gives you an idea of how massive our organization is and how many things we can do. By the way, again, I alluded to the fact there's 1.4 million members worldwide in over 200 countries and geographical areas. The number of opportunities to serve are limitless. And so, what they're doing in one country may not be appropriate here, may not work, but then again, hey, it's worth thinking about. When our club over 20 years ago, and again, I bring up my dad, Ken, when he came to our club and says, I got a new fundraiser for us. We're not selling fruit anymore. fruit has been less and less clubs are able to get a hold of good fruit at the prior to Christmas. He says, how about we sell onions? And I said, onions? You mean like the onions get in the store or out in the garden?
Actually, no one left the meeting.
Onions. I told him he was crazy. Well, I was the crazy one because now years later, that's the number one fundraising project for a lot of clubs. And our North Jackson Club is no exception. I couldn't believe going out asking people if they wanted to buy onions as opposed to, don't you sell fruit? No, we switched to onions because they taste better. Thanks, Jim, for laughing, make me feel good.
If you make onion rings.
So, but you can make onion rings, and I have a great recipe for onion rings. My onion rings are outstanding. I don't mean to boast. They're excellent. And as soon as we get onions come in, Vicki and I buy a 25-pound box. And that's the other thing. Our club, many clubs have said, oh, they couldn't sell a lot of onions. And people said, oh, a 10-pound bag was too big. I'd like a 5-pounder. Well, I'm kind of fortunate. I go to some school districts and I can talk people into buying, not just the buying of the onions, but to consolidate and say, instead of buying a 10 and you buying a 10, how about together you buy a 25? Cost you the same amount of money. You have more onions and you give more of them away to friends and family. Just like everybody's looking for a big juicy Vidalia. I get those first thing we do, open the windows and start frying onion rings. And they are outstanding.
Use Drake's batter mix.
Come on over. You want to come over?
Drake's batter mix is the only way.
When you use Drake's, I just use flour and beer. But you got to salt them. Uncle Emerald says when they come out of the fryer, they're vulnerable and you got to salt them immediately. But make up a dip like you get at one of the restaurants like at Outback or a Texas Roadhouse.
The Spring Harbor Scouts at the county fair in Jackson are the best onion rings.
I've had those. Those are good. I had some good ones the other day and I got to think about where they were from. So anyway, getting off that. So back to the information. We talked about the Lion magazine. Here's the magazine that goes to multiple District 11, the Lion Pride We Serve. I believe it's printed 8 times a year. And some of them are, you'll see it's a combined a January, February issue or whatever it is. This is a great tool, shows the picture there of our Council of Governors on this particular issue. There's a lot of information, good information, upcoming events around the state. One thing I wish it would have, or that we could have on a website, and I should have mentioned that.
District 11B1 to everyone. Membership process is right out the room to go.
Things are going to be taking place. They have shrimp boils up in the Thumb area. Now, that's a little ways to drive, but we drive two hours to get the best chicken in the world down in Middlebury, Indiana. We'll just drive down for dinner. So why wouldn't I drive an hour and a half to a shrimp boil that helps the Lions Club if we know about those things? In here, but with the COVID, there haven't been as many of those fundraisers able to be done. But there are a number of things that are taking place. This at least tells you what has taken place. When you get it, if you think about it, say, darn, I missed it. No, get out your calendar and write that in there for next year and say, I want to look at it. I still want to get to the Mount Pleasant Lions Club for their chicken boil the first Sunday in May.
Manchester.
Well, the Manchester one's that's a whole different thing. I don't want to get in that line. I've never been there for it. No offense to fine people in Manchester. Yeah. But there's one up there, and then I would go over to a baseball game over at Tennyson Stadium. So anyway, that magazine, be sure you read it. And if you don't see enough stuff in there from
Darryl Blinko's left the meeting.
then ask your club president, your club cultural and community affairs person, or call the district governor and say, what do we have to do? Or the district editor, even better, and say, what do we have to do to get some information in there? There's a way to do that. And they're always looking for information. And I'm always disappointed if I don't see the space for information filled up, especially from our district. I like to look at some of the other districts where I know some of the people, know some of the clubs, want to see what they're doing. And again, another place to come up with ideas for things to do within your club or sometimes within the district. If a couple clubs get together. Now, you may put that down if you don't mind. Talking about service projects. There's going to be a really good service project coming up the first Saturday in October. And Lion Chris Lake, our resident tail twister, is next door. And she has already solicited a number of clubs. Our North Jackson Club has helped with this. She's in the Daffodil Society. She's an officer there. Over the last, I don't know, 10 years, she's asked Lions Club members from 4 or 5 of the local clubs to come out and help on a Saturday morning about 10 o'clock to plant daffodils. Daffodils are provided by Beck's Floral. That's a commercial. If I have to pay a fine, so be it. Gary is a long-term time member of our club, but Beck's Floral supplies the daffodils. They get about 2,500 bulbs, 2,500 to 3,000. The county park service plows up the area that they're going to do. It's either Sharp Park or Cascades. I forget which one it's in this year. They plow different areas, and in about 15 minutes, we plant 2,500 daffodils. Make sure you bring your boots if you come, because they will provide cider and donuts, but your boots are going to be muddy because they have completely soaked that area to make sure the ground is easy to turn over. And so that is an outstanding multi group thing, not just multi with Lions,
Organization.
but multi with another organization we partner with. We've partnered with them. They're the main one. And so there are a number of things like that that can be done. And so those are some of the background. Now, there's another booklet that's circulating around, and again, I love to mention. What?
For sale for $3.
What the heck is a tail twister? Every club should have an active tail twister. I hope that you do. And if you don't get one, at Interlakes, we had 2 of the best tail twisters ever. No offense to Lion Chris, because I know she does a great job. We had Bob Morgan and Walt Kerstetter. And Walt was a banker. And I got to tell this story. I didn't have it written down to tell, but I got to tell it. We had a fellow in our club, Interlakes, one of their first fundraising projects was to sell brooms. Again, everybody needs a broom. In fact, somebody came up tonight to me and said, I got a nice broom to sell for the Lions. I'd buy one. But Harold Baldwin, who I think he was some sort of an engineer. Actually, his son-in-law was one of the first people ever to do heart surgery. Like an implant or transplant out in Arizona. But anyway, Lion Harold sold the heck out of brooms 2 years in a row. I don't know how many brooms he sold, but I'm going to say it was in the hundreds. He got the nickname Broomstick Baldwin. Every club meeting that he came to, and he would winter in Florida, when he came back, Walt Kerstetter would come up and tell the story about one year Harold was backing his car. He lived at Lake Leanne. He's backing his car down, backing his boat down on the ramp. And he got down just a little too far. He didn't get stuck in the water, but he got out and he realized he was standing in water as he opened the door. And he said, what the heck? Before the tail twister, what the heck? I might as well wash my car while I'm here. Walt Kerstetter fined him for that about 20 times. You like that?
I like that.
You like the story?
No.
Huh?
We're laughing at something going on outside.
Oh,
I was laughing at the story.
Thank you. Thank you.
I thought his
It
nickname-
was funny.
I thought his nickname was gonna be Clean Sweep.
Like, clean and green.
Because we all.
Yeah. Well, that was so broomstick, he got fined for that. But anyway, so what the heck is a tail twister? This book was put together again, for people, for new members. It's a new member orientation book. It was put together by past international director Ken Lautzenheiser and past district governor Glenn Reuter from Inner Lakes and North Adams Lions respectively. And they put the first issue together, I think back in 1999, the first edition, and it's been redone several times. Actually, this is now the 5th edition. And we spent lots of nights on Zoom meetings in the summer, updating this information, changed it around. And I think this booklet, again, your club, I believe every club got 4 of these, that asked to see it. Go through that. It will answer a lot of questions. It will answer a lot of questions. And by the way, what the heck is a tail twister? A tail twister is supposed to lend levity to the club and find people. And that's exactly what Walt Kerstetter and Bob Morgan were so good at doing.
One thing that I want to tell everyone online is for new members, the district has recently ordered 150 more books of these, of what the heck is a tail twister, and they will be giving them to all new members this year.
What about that existing clubs? Can they order them?
The existing clubs will get 4 copies. Each club gets 4 copies.
Wouldn't each member need to have one?
Well, theoretically, if you're a member, you should know much of this stuff.
How's that?
Well, one way would be to have people come that know about lines. If you want to know about a certain thing or certain things, to have a speaker come to one of your meetings and talk about it.
Where would you get speakers from? You ask, request?
Well,
them
yeah.
from-
Where would you get the speakers from? On Lionism? Right from this book right here.
So
Within your
these books
district.
that you're talking about, can individual Lion members order them from us? Well, I can see Terry, I'm sure she would.
You can buy those. Yeah.
You can buy them.
Right.
And again, that book has a lot of information. Some of it, that is stuff that a neophyte probably doesn't need. But after you get into it and want to have some other information, that really becomes, you want to look through it.
Like the phone book.
No, I like to have my own copy,
Yeah.
so, at my leisure, I can sit
Sure.
and learn and grow, because I'm with the Southeast
Okay.
Alliance Quest. And there's so much we don't know,
Right.
and that's why I'm sitting here tonight, so that I can gain some information. And just being able to have access to booklets, that's what you're talking about, we can learn,
Right.
what we're involved in.
Mhm.
When we first talked about developing the club, it was all exciting. We had
Mhm.
Roberta Sexton who helped us,
Mhm.
but Roberta can't do it all.
Right.
So if we could do some self-help ourselves and bring it.
Well, and one of the things that you can do, I mean, in addition
7 p.m.
to that book is, and those kind of tie together. This one gives you more of the background. This tells you what has more or less transpired and where we're at today. So Roberta should be able to help you with, should know that if you said, hey, we'd like to know a little bit more about, I'm surprised she didn't bring one of the books there and say, hey, here are the, what they say, 56 committees that this district has in place. And that some of these are interesting. Some would be very interesting programs. I mean, starting with the, Leader Dog or Eversight and the history of Braille transcribing, those sorts of things are what we have been involved with for years and years. And in some cases, or in every case, those 3, the Lions started all. And so to have somebody come and speak on those. And then if you go to zone meetings, generally speaking, at zone meetings, Roger can attest to this as his own chair. And having been his own chair, and I think Anita probably will do the same thing. Were you zone before?
No,
I should know that. Is that zone meetings, you have 2 or 3 different people there probably to speak about on different topics. And some of those topics change what is interesting or what, for instance, like Kelly Luby, who has taken over the LCIF chair, and earlier Anita talked about her getting a grant. Nobody has done the LCIF thing like she has. And that's a good thing. I mean, in the 6 months that seems to have been working with it, well, it's actually a little bit over a year, but you know, she's done more in that amount of time than probably been done in 5 to 10 years. But if you've got to know, you got to go to and kind of listen. Our club is now giving not just 1, but 2 Melvin Jones a year, because we want to honor some of the people who have been in our club for years and years. Number one, and the money that goes from our club to LCIF for a Melvin Jones, not only do we get to honor a person and give them a nice plaque and say, you know, this is why, you know, you're being rewarded for all the fine work you've done. That money that goes to LCIF, combined with all the other millions of dollars that come in, comes back. Our district and our state has received far more back in LCIF grants than we've ever given in. And that's largely due because in some clubs in Asia, in particular, you're not a member of that club for very long if you haven't given $1,000 to be a Melvin Jones.
Like an entry fee.
Almost, yeah.
They kind of like consider it sort of like if you want to
Yeah.
be a line,
Yeah.
work over $1,000.
Yeah.
Then you're.
And they do things a lot differently than we do. Their fundraisers are get your checkbook out. My fundraiser, what I've done, and I did a tally a few years ago, and I won't give a number, but I might give a round ballpark, that I told a former club how much my wife and I had done for that club when we were kind of had to move clubs, which actually worked out in our best interest because then we didn't have to drive 40 minutes to a meeting. Now we can drive 10. But then I went back to look to see how much we had done for the club. And while I may not take a lot out of my pocket, I've taken a lot of my time, my energy, and my gasoline to go do, and I'm not boasting. I'm saying that's something that you do that is rewarding when you see it got the results. Last weekend, we did our candy days earlier than ever, and mine's predicated on a certain university's football schedule. And so it was this last weekend, and we did, for us now, Ryan said from Marshall, he did over $2,000. Well, we get to go to one location. We made $1,100 in 20 hours. Okay, so listen, we set up the whole thing. We got our candy mints out there, and we've got one guy in our club that is outstanding. He doesn't let anybody get by without taking a roll of mints. He's not begging for the money. He says, you need to try the mints. And well, there are a few people that say no. But that's the whole idea. You want to be visible. And so we had a number of people, it's rewarding, because I did more than one shift out there, is that people said, you're the Lions, you bought me a pair of eyeglasses. You bought neighbors a pair of eyeglasses. One lady came by and said, you gave my son, it was a son, I didn't know her personally, but I know her husband and 3 kids. We gave her son a $1,000 scholarship about 10 years ago. And she says, I don't pass a Lions opportunity like this to give. And she gave us $5, whatever. I said, how's your son doing? Well, he's some electrical engineer or something, making well into 6 figures. I think 2 daughters are doing about the same. One of them, I think, is a doctor. And so that's what I'm doing to help you to, go full circle. So those are some of the basic things. Again, that book tells you a lot about the organization. And I have some things here. I have things that I find to be interesting. There's a couple handouts I'm going to give you here that if you're looking for new members, here is a sheet to, you sit down if you have a new member orientation. I mean, before you do that, it's just say, hey, start out, you said you want to look through the book. Well, hey, when you're sitting there some night, go through your memories and say,
Or your phone.
And say, hey, let me write down some names and then let me think about it.
Outlook, right and free. Biden shocks America. Global speech. Joe says one thing, but does the exact opposite.
1 out of 5 you think qualifies to be a lion. And qualifies, it means they would be interested. That's you can cross out the things on the left-hand side, because if all of them are just our acquaintances, everybody qualifies. So you do that. The other thing is, how do we raise money to give to all of our wonderful projects and to help our area in need to buy those eyeglasses or hearing, which again, the hearing aids kind of come through the Lions of Michigan Foundation now.
It's not really a membership growth.
That's been a little bit kind of confusing. I don't know,
Well, it comes partly through the Lions of Michigan Foundation, but we also have a chairman
right,
who is in contact with Lions of Michigan, where they
Right.
pay for part of it and the district pays for part of it.
so there are district funds available for that.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that I might mention, as Anita brought that up, is a historical thing that may be a little confusing or nebulous, I guess is a better word. Going back about
I'm gonna do another mic after this.
about a little over 20 years ago, when my wife, we've been married about 30 years, when she first came with me to a Lions district cabinet meeting, we had 40 or 50 people at those meetings. And she was not a member, my mom wasn't a member, so for most women were not members at the time. But we had a ladies program for them, the men did the business, if you will. But we had every zone represented by more than just the zone chair and so forth. We had probably 2 or 3 different clubs in every zone represented. We've gotten away from that. We need to get more people, I think, to cabinet meetings to know what's going on. We need more than just the zone chairs there. We need people to know what's going on in the district. Ask about the district budget. Ask about those activity funds. We have money in there. I've accessed the last couple of years. I've asked for 4 different school districts on behalf of Quest. And a few years ago, I listened at a cabinet meeting. We had a Lion sit there and say, we said, well, why is only one club getting Quest money? And he says, we're the only district in the only school district within the 6 counties that offers Quest. And I stood up and says, I'm sorry, but you're wrong, because I've taught the class in 2 different school districts. And so that's why we need that input. And so we've accessed those Quest funds. And then we've, like I said, Stan Masters has accessed them. And the money he's gotten has gone to 2 school districts that don't have Lions clubs there. But he worked for the ISD, so he knew the needs in those communities. Nothing wrong with that. That's wonderful. But we have Quest money. We also have Reading Action money. And that's been accessed by, yes. If you want to get, like, for your local school, you want to go down to whatever the local elementary is, say, would you need some books?
What are the 2 school districts?
2 that I did at Michigan Center and Western.
Okay,
Center and Western.
those are the ones Stan Masters got the grants for.
No,
I got Quest money actually for Michigan Center, Western, East Jackson,
No, he's asking about stands.
Stands.
Yes.
Oh, Stands, I'm sorry.
Got
There-
two schools.
There are two, I think one is Britton Deerfield and one is, I think Sand Creek.
Yes.
Okay, let him-
Do I have the two right? I think that's right. And, you know, so that to me, which tells me one other story. You can put that down, you can save your
Okay.
arm.
All right. You have 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes. A story, true story. We have Lions clubs in mainland China. How did they get there? Well, Lion Bill Biggs, past international president, personal friend from Omaha, Nebraska, told me the story. They went into China when they had one of their floods. And Lions International came in and offered $250,000. That's a pretty big amount for us. And they gave $250,000 to help for devastation in this one area. And they couldn't believe it. I mean, they're still a communist country, but they're still a country with individuals. So they went in, gave this money, and guess what? Within a year, Lions was able and asked to come in to have clubs and have membership there. Bill Biggs is sitting at a restaurant. He's, again, high roller, past international president. He's talking to a friend that's pretty high in Rotary. And the Rotary, after the conversing, the Rotary individual said, well, now, how can we get into
You are muted. Press Alt plus A to mute your microphone or press.
club in there? He says, you don't put the club in first. You give
8
the
p.m.
help first.
Press Alt to show or hide meeting controls.
Or and maybe that's what hopefully we'll do, happen with Stan in those two districts.
Yeah.
That they will see the need and we may get 2 new clubs. 1 new club would be nice. So, I've got to read this poem. Ray Hollinger from Inner Lakes Lions Club. Many will be shocked to find when the day of judgment nears that there's a special place in heaven set aside for volunteers, furnished with big recliners, satin couches and footstools, where there's no committee chairman, no group leaders or carpools, no eager team that needs a coach, no bazaar and no bake sale. There will be nothing to staple, not one thing to fold or mail. Telephone lists will be outlawed, but a finger snap will bring cold drinks and gourmet dinners and rare treats fit for a king. You ask, who will serve these privileged few and work for all they're worth? Why, all those who reap the benefits and not once volunteered on earth. Thank you.
All right. And we're done.